Call the meeting to order. Flag salute.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Statement of certification of meeting.
Certification of meeting has been advertised according to sunshine law.
Roll call.
Mr. De Niro. Mr. Zungri.
Here.
Mrs. Inaugurata.
Here.
Councilman Kennedy.
Here.
Mr. Conti. Mr. Walsh.
Here.
Mrs. Shore.
Here.
Mr. Medicini. Mr. Bowe. Mr. Sanabria. Ms. Rico.
Here.
Mr. Harris.
Here.
Mr. DiBiase.
Here.
Mr. DiLorenzo.
Here.
Approval of minutes for July 13th, 2017. Do I have? So moved. Second.
Second.
It's on your stand.
Roll call.
Mr. Zungri.
Yes.
Mrs. Inaugurata.
Yes.
Councilman Kennedy.
Staying.
Mr. Walsh.
Yes.
Mrs. Shore.
Yes.
Ms. Rico.
Yes. Chairman's comments, correspondence and payment of bills. Is there anything? Old business, the memorialization of resolution PB 2017-02, 81-179 Belmont Avenue. Do I have?
Madam Chairman, can I make a point of order? Can we have an explanation of what you're memorializing? Because there's a conflict. You did an investigation to see if it's an area that needs redevelopment, which you've done on other properties. And then when you memorialize, you say, we recommend to the council that we believe it's an area of redevelopment. But this one's confusing because it actually has a planning board application number on it. So are we approving an application, a resolution, which is misspelled, or an area you need to redevelop? So what
As a
exactly
point of
are you...
order, we are approving this resolution that's been published and passed out to all members, and it happens to be assigned a planning board number. It's not an application.
Well, why is there an application number on it? This has never been done with any other redeveloped area that need to redevelop.
We'll take your comments. It's been recorded on our record and also videotaped. Please take
Well, I just hope you board members know what you're voting on.
Yes, there's a resolution in front of us, Mr. Clancy.
Well, can we know what you're voting on?
Yes.
Can you read the
Public
resolution?
notice.
Because this is an application I've never seen in all these years, I've come here 30, 40 years, I've never seen an application number
This
when
is a
it's an
public
area.
document. We'll be glad to give you a copy of this after the board decides to approve it or not. Somebody make a motion, please.
Well, it might be too late. You're gonna vote for it and then let the public know. There's supposed to be a
No,
public
we
meeting.
already had a hearing on this. You were here and you asked a lot of questions, you know.
Mr. DiBiase,
Can I get
and you
this?
should
You're out
know
of
that
order now,
it's
Paul.
never been done in this format before.
We'll take your comments in a matter of record. Call it.
Mr. Manganies?
Yeah.
Could you please call us?
Discussion. You can't just
Yes.
do
Yes,
this.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Well, we could check the, let's go back and quickly check our,
Minutes?
not our minutes, our transcript comments. because I believe that specifically we were approving the investigation to determine if it was in need of redevelopment, but I might be wrong. It should be within this transcript.
And that's what the big
Right.
bold letters up top state.
Resolution of the planning board.
Should be in this transcript, so it should be recorded in here. Let's just take a look at this motion. Okay, the motion was, would someone like to make a motion to accept the recommendation in this report to declare this an area of redevelopment? That was the transcript verbiage on page 55. Mr. Zungri motion, Mr. Nogarata seconded. Both carried. So that was the language.
Right, and the copy of the big bold letters in this resolution, which all members have.
Oh, no, I'm not questioning.
Would you be kind enough to read that into the record, Ms. Short, please?
You want me to read this?
Please.
The resolution of the Planning Board of the Township of Belleville recommending that the Township Council of the Township of Belleville designate property along Belmont Avenue in the town a non-condemnation area in need of redevelopment.
Thank you. Any other comments?
Any other discussion?
No, I'd just like to clarify for the public that this is what was voted on that night per official transfer.
Mr. Rico, could you please call?
Yes. Mr. Zungri.
Yes.
Mrs. Inaugurato.
Yes.
Councilman Kennedy.
Abstain.
Mr. Walsh.
Yes.
Mrs. Shaw.
Yes.
Mr. Rico.
Yes.
And Mr. Gruco, I understand that this resolution will be available for any member of the public to pick up tomorrow in your office,
Yes, absolutely.
9 a.m. Thank you.
Move on to new business, the redevelopment study and preliminary investigation report for 78-102 Washington Avenue, Planning Board 2017-04.
Council, we're going to move the agenda through the chair.
Thank you.
Want to do the application before the board for 11 Franklin Avenue, Block 2301, Lot 1 preliminary and final site plan and major subdivision plan. Is that attorney here?
Yes, Madam Chair. For purposes of the record, Michael Oliveira with the law offices of Chiesa, Shahinian, and Giantomasi. My understanding in speaking to Mr. DiBiase that the board has not had an opportunity to review the engineering memorandum from your Department of Engineering and has requested that we adjourn the application to the next available hearing date, I believe is September. We have no objection to adjourning it. We waive any time constraints that the board has with regard to hearing the application.
Thank you, Council.
Thank you.
And my understanding is that there will be no additional notices.
That's correct, and we'll also,
Okay, Mr. Reaper, I'd like to call, someone want to make a resolution?
carry the application.
Right,
I'll make resolution.
okay. Would you, clarify the resolution?
Yeah, I believe Mr. Zungri is making a motion
Motion to
carrying the application to September meeting without the need of any further notices on the condition that the applicant has on the record waived any applicable time constraints.
Is there a specific date, Mr.
Would be September 14th, is that correct?
Yes, September 14th.
Can we be first in the agenda?
You will.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Madam Chair. Mr. DiBiase.
But through the chair, then, the chair has, well, let's make a motion first.
We got the motion, do I have a second?
I'll second.
Or-
Second.
And a roll call now?
Mr. Zani.
Yes.
Mr. Notarado.
Yes.
Councilman Kennedy.
Yes.
Mr. Walsh.
Yes.
Mrs. Shaw.
Yes.
Ms. Rico.
Yes.
Thank you, and have a nice evening.
Thank you. Now, let me make this announcement. Anyone in the public that's interested in this application, there will be no further notice. You heard that it will be heard at the September meeting.
Actually, the application's changed though, hasn't it? They're not gonna do the Wawa and stuff?
As of this afternoon, a letter came through on that, or yes.
Before you leave, well, what are you taking off the application? So I know what I'm doing.
Sure. Again, for the record, Michael Oliveira with the offices of Chiesa Shahinian and Giantomasi. There's a letter that was sent to the board where we withdrew the portion of the application having to do with the retail store, the Wawa.
All right.
And when was that letter sent?
It's dated August 3rd, I believe. I have a copy here if you need it.
It just caught up to the board, but that's not your issue.
Right.
You have the letter if you need it.
We're good.
Okay.
Thank you, council. Say hello to everyone.
I sure will.
All right, so we will go back to the new business, which is the redevelopment study and preliminary investigation report for 78-102 Washington Avenue.
I'm gonna excuse myself from this application because it's gonna come back to, I guess it's gonna come back to the council for a pilot program. So, I don't take no part in it right now.
Second on the record.
Yep.
Very good.
And this also has a planning board number based upon the issue before of 2017-04. Is that correct, Madam Chairperson?
Yes, it is. Thought I read that.
2017-02.
No.
04.
02 was the Belleville Avenue memorialization.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
Good evening, I'm Don Mizell, I'm representing CME. I was with you last month for a very similar, same type of identification.
Can I swear you in, please?
Area need a redevelopment.
She doesn't hear. You solemnly swear the testimony about to give this matter will be true, the whole truth,
I do. So again, this is a non-condemnation redevelopment area study. It involves property I'm sure you're all familiar with. It's a former used car lot from the corner, the southeastern corner of Williamson and Washington Avenue. It's only a block away from the Newark city limit, and it's basically a parcel that's a gateway into your community. This is a lot more easier. Nice language. It's a lot easier designation than the previous one because there are several items that we use to identify an area in need of, or criteria rather. I think the last one we did only had 2 criteria that the parcel or property met. This one has 4. Again, I'm referring to the report that was done by our firm and signed by Pete Vandenkoy. He is a licensed planner in the AICP with the firm, but he is not here tonight. Basically, you're looking at a property. I went and visited the property again today. I was again sharing with Mr. Di Lorenzo that the electric meter has been pulled from the property. It's still mail in the mailbox, and I witnessed at least 4 people using that lot to cut through, so they didn't have to go to the intersection to turn left or right. They turned right into the neighborhood. So people are using this lot in a manner that's not quite appropriate. But getting back to what we're here for, which is to consider this area in need of redevelopment, the A criteria talks about properties that might be substandard, unsafe, unsanitary, dilapidated, or obsolete. Well, by virtue of this building being shut down and not metered, it's only maybe 150, 200 square feet altogether. It's not being used. The A criteria applies in this case. The B criteria, again, deals with, you all have a copy of what I'm referring to, the actual report dated July 2017. Okay.
Yes.
So I am actually on page 12 of that report where the criteria are listed. The B criteria talks about the discontinuance or use of buildings. Again, to the point, this building has been vacant for some time. Therefore, the B criteria applies. D criteria deals with buildings or improvements by reason of dilapidation, obsolescence, overcrowding, faulty arrangement. Again, because this property has been underutilized for an extended period of time, not only is the building there, but the property it actually is fairly well kept for being vacant as long as it has, but it's gravel, asphalt, cars on the property that probably shouldn't be there. And then the final criteria, which is the one that's very general, is called the smart growth criteria, or the letter H. And it's consistent with smart growth standards, or at least redeveloping this property would be. And so those are the criteria that our firm and the planners that work there use to determine the fact that this property is an area in need of redevelopment. I can answer any questions. I'm sure you're all familiar with the site. Again, you can look at this site and see that it does need some attention. But what you're doing tonight would be validating that through the statutes, that this is an area that needs attention.
Before you go further, just for the record, would you go to page 2 of your report?
Sure.
And there are obviously people in attendance that are interested in this process. And please go through the process.
The bullet points, would you like me to touch on
Yes,
those?
I would.
So this process has been in use for quite some time in the state of New Jersey. It changes over time, but the governing body had to authorize the planning board to start with to undertake an investigation. So that happened previous to this meeting. An investigation to determine if an area meets the criteria that I just mentioned to you. So what the planning board is doing tonight is a preliminary investigation to see if they agree with the findings that are in the report. They can agree, they can disagree. Whatever they do, they'll take action, and that action will be passed on to city council for a final determination of whether this area meets the criteria and is indeed an area in need of redevelopment. After that, the planning board and council have usually the governing body will authorize a plan to be developed for the area, in which case a planning firm like myself or a staff planner will develop a plan with new criteria for the property. Right now, I forget what the zoning is for this property. I think it's BG or general business. Yep, BG, commercial residential mixed use, is the zoning that's currently on that property. What happens is when a plan is developed, typically new criteria are set up for this property. The property also becomes eligible for different incentives that the state and local government can offer people who own that property. And again, so then it's up to the person that owns or has a contract with that property to come back with a plan that meets the criteria stated in the redevelopment plan that presumably was approved. Each step in the process, the public is involved, the planning board is involved, council has to weigh in at least twice before anything can happen on the site. That was not going bullet by bullet, but I know it pretty well. Is there anything that I missed there?
No, I think the audience should just know that we're at the preliminary stage of this process,
Correct.
and that the planning board has not held a public hearing yet on your comments.
And that's what this is now, I guess. Again, that's my report. You have questions for me, they get to speak to this as well. But this is, I guess, that you could call this the second step in the process. The next step would be for you to forward a recommendation to council. Council has to act on that. And again, assuming they do approve it, then a redevelopment plan has to be developed for the site. That comes back to you. Plan is approved. The developer then has to prepare a site plan. It comes back to you, has to be approved. So it's still a process that has 6 to 8 steps where the public and you primarily are involved along the way. So this is really step 1.
Yes, Mrs. Shaw, I know you have questions.
In the report, as you know, there's also, and we have zoning board members here. So it's in the report that there was a zoning board hearing on this parcel,
2015, yes.
2015, and this even got into specifics of how large the planters should be within this proposal. So it certainly was in general. It got into specifics, and it talked about streetscaping and planting scheme provided by the applicant's architect. So it's confusing to me as to if this went through zoning, if this was approved by zoning. So why is it coming to us?
What's happened is back in 2015, the owners of the property at the time filed for variances. And they received the variances to construct, I believe it's an 80-unit apartment complex on that site. They have not proceeded with that development. So they still could today or tomorrow if they wanted to. If they prepared site plans and brought them in, they could move them forward because they've already been granted a variance. So that doesn't apply to the designation, other than you can see that 2.5, 3 years ago, a site plan was approved and nothing has happened since that time, which makes you think that the land is a challenge to develop this.
So when would that site plan expire?
I'd like to ask that question too. Do you have that information?
Usually variances don't expire, that the zoning board grants. You have, site plans can expire, but the variances that were granted do not.
You have a 3-year time period on site plan. So I imagine they're coming close to the end of that.
No.
If it started in 2015.
Yeah, I have a copy of
It's 18.
it was certified by the board in June 25th, 2015.
15.
So they would have another 10 months to act on this in the current form that it is. But again, they could do that now. You might be able to help me with this concept. If a redevelopment plan is approved in their new standards, could they still use the variances that they have? I think the answer is no, but I'm not sure. And it doesn't apply to you designating it. That would be something that we can address at a later time.
Sure. Let me just get Mr. Moore.
Okay. A couple of points. I was going to raise the same issue. In the zoning resolution, item number 8.
The one from 2015?
15.
Uh-huh.
Condition number 8 specifically says all constructions shall commence within 2 years.
There you go.
Okay.
Yeah.
However,
Uh-huh.
this applicant originally was approved back in 2007, and he periodically asked for extensions. So we don't know if they're going to ask for another extension or not.
You certainly could, and you can certainly say no.
Okay. My other point that
Yes.
I want to raise with you is the applicant on the zoning board resolution is a different LLC that you cite as owning the property on page 11.
Okay.
Was that a recent sale? Are they the same people?
So I don't know.
Because if it was a sale, we can probably consider the zoning application as being abandoned.
I would treat it as abandoned based on the 2 years that you just mentioned.
But we don't know if it's the same people or if they're going to come and ask for a extension.
I mean, it's a different entity. So, but again, my understanding is the variances that were granted in 2015 go with the land. As you said, they have 3 years to act on that. In the resolution, they only have 2. They agreed to that. So as far as it goes, I think whatever was approved back in 2015 is no longer applicable without the current owners coming to you and asking for consideration for an extension, which you don't have to grant.
Is there anyone on the zoning board who knows if an extension has been requested?
No, there was no extension request.
Mr. Chairman, would you come up and go under oath?
Yes, no
Jerry,
problem.
come up.
But I have a question or plan. Confused me. I'm Talil Jerry Delgertia. I'm the chairman of the zoning board.
Someone swear the testimony about this matter will be the truth, just like
Yes, I do. The question I have, because you confused me just now.
Okay.
You said they have another 10 months. What do you?
Another 10 months of the 3 years that normal site plans have approval for.
I thought it's 2 years.
Well, that's what was pointed out.
Your
The language in the
resolution is 2
resolution,
years, Mr.
you
Chairman.
limited it to 2, but
Well, from
by-
what I understand, that's the town ordinance.
Mr. Land use can give you up to 3.
that
You
that was
can't
what
up
he
to
and I
three?
were referring to.
Because I never knew that. They have never come back. What happened was it was approved back in, what was that, 2-1?
June 25th, 2015.
No, before that.
Oh, somebody mentioned 2007.
2007. Now, they never came for an extension until 2015, and then we granted the extension. But they made minor changes. They lowered the height by, I believe, 2 floors. And number of units stayed the same, 80 units. And the restaurant stayed the same. But what they did was they did like a tandem parking in the garage. One ground level up, one level of the garage went down, and one level of the building came down. So it came down 2 floors, as I
Mr.
remember the
Chairman,
case. And that's how it ended up.
Did the board consider that a substantial change? You consider it a new
No,
application?
no, because it wasn't an increase, it was a decrease in use. It wasn't adding, it was subtracting. And that happened once before in another case. And that didn't require a whole new thing. They just came back, they wanted to make it smaller,
So
so
it
we...
wasn't a use, it was a site plan.
No, the use and the site plan stayed the same.
The use stayed the same, the site plan.
Everything stayed the
site
same.
plan
The
changed
use stayed the same, having the restaurant on the first floor stayed the same, the units stayed the same. I think they may have made more units, 1 instead of 2 bedroom. That's about it, to constrict it, 1 more floor.
I think it would help our planner and the board if we could find out factually if the applicant has abandoned this project. And I think that was Mrs. Shore's questioning, which I think is important to find out.
And it was sold, by the way.
There's
was sold.
specific detail as
Yeah.
to units.
Right.
2-bedroom, 1-bedroom, whether it faces exterior, interior. This was more than simply a general, this was very specific. And so that's why it becomes confusing to me. Why are we
It was
doing this?
approved as a final site plan.
And Mr. Chairman,
Wasn't preliminary.
if in fact this application is a viable application, that means that this area may not be in need of redevelopment because it's being developed.
That's not my decision, that's your decision.
No, but we're asking if you have any factual information on that.
Okay, there is a transcript available. That I could tell you of the whole case. So if you want to read the transcript and ask for it, you could do so, and I'm sure they'll provide it to you. But technically, if you approve this as an area in need of redevelopment, maybe he's correct. Maybe you can continue the same site plan. I know if it wasn't, I don't even know, if it's an area of redevelopment is declared, I don't know if it would go back before the zoning board, because I think the zoning board comes out of the picture.
Planning board takes over.
It takes over, exactly. So you could agree to what we agreed to, or you can make changes, it's up to you. If you declare it that way.
I'm just going to suggest this to the board. Unless there is an urgent time period on this, I think we need to find out if the applicant has abandoned this project. And that makes your testimony strong. And if the applicant is saying we haven't abandoned it and we want to go forward, that changes the scale a little bit, I would think.
Again, what happened last time I was here, we're getting ahead of ourselves and talking about the uses that are proposed for this site. What you have now is a site plan that has expired as of 2 months ago. It's no longer valid. They can't do what's in that resolution because the time period has expired. So from my point of view, it's now been an abandoned parcel, and there's nothing approved for that site. They can come
Unless
in-
they come back for an extension.
Again, and again, unless they do, but I'm assuming that they aren't, because
Well, that's up to the applicant.
The only reason that I found out about this from 2015, and again, it strengthens the point, it failed to be built. So again, it emphasizes the perspective that nothing is happening on this site, hence it should be redeveloped.
Through
That's,
the years, a lot of things were going to be proposed there.
I'm sure.
And nothing just happened. So,
But again, what you're
It's the
doing
same way.
as a board is saying, is this area, does it meet the statutory criteria, regardless of whether there's this plan out there or these variances or not. What would happen is, all the conditions in here are now null and void. So it would be a fresh start for everything. Parking requirements, bulk standards, what's permitted there, all of that would be new, which is the idea behind declaring this. So, I mean, you can delay if you want, but I don't think it's necessary for you to determine whether or not, it looks like a redevelopment area. It is. The statutory criteria are there, and I believe you could act on it if you choose to. You can certainly postpone.
Mrs. Short.
I would like to find out more about this site and the history, because I find that the expiration was this past June 25th. So how convenient that it happened to expire, and now we have this time frame where all of a sudden it's being brought up for redevelopment. Now, it might be a coincidence, but, so I think we need to find out, as our attorney said, was there abandonment? Wasn't there abandonment? Was there a transfer of ownership? We need to find this out, because, gee, they didn't come here in May or April, just in a timely manner after the expiration.
But they're not here now. There's nobody here. This is separate from
I
anybody who owns.
understand, but I understand the whole process, and when you all understand the process of development, all I'm saying is, we need the history. And just so that we're comfortable, and no one can insinuate that we are colluding in any way for convenience to make this redevelopment. I'm not opposed to redevelopment, I'm uncomfortable with all of a sudden the timing of this. It's the way it is. But
Well,
that's just my personal opinion as a board member.
Well, I can testify that I know for a fact there has been a change in ownership.
Oh.
I'm not sure if this gentleman was at one time a part owner, but the other owner sold everything to him. Even if he was a part owner, the other owner sold everything, and that's over a year ago.
That was Mr. DiPapolo?
DiPapolo, yes.
Because I know the car dealership was functioning quite well there, and they were told that,
Well, Mr. DiPapolo was renting it to them. That was not his ownership, his car dealership. He was renting it to them.
no, I know that.
Matter of
That's
fact,
what I'm saying. They were told to leave the property.
Yes, there was an additional case that came before us, because one lot was not zoned for, or didn't have the approval of parking cars for sale, and he came before us with that, and then from what I understand, it's like I believe up to 5 lots that they put all together. I think this lot was in the middle. So that we approved the original building, we approved the scaled down version. They've never had a problem with the board. The board never gave them a problem.
I even remember there was going to be a senior building at that site.
At one time, that was
No,
supposed,
you remember.
but I don't think we ever heard the case.
No.
We never heard the case. It
No,
was
never
talk.
fruition.
It was talk, but the only cases we heard was the one lot that got moved over to being able to sell cars, which I believe the one was in the middle, and then we heard this case,
The residential with the
residential with the restaurant, and then they scaled it down 2 floors. That was it. And I believe they may have moved the entrance to the garage. That was it.
minor change.
Minor stuff in the original site plan. And we approved it for final site plan, so that was all done. Now, what they decided to do after it was sold to this gentleman,
I don't know.
I don't know, and he hasn't come before us for any extension or anything. So that I can tell you, to my knowledge, he's never come before us for any, well, we've never heard it, let's put it that way. And I believe Mr. Di Lorenzo is here, he would know if they made an application for an extension.
All right, I thank you for your help.
No problem. Anybody else have questions of me? Before I sit down, Mr. Walsh?
Now, you are saying, as part of your
Testimony?
testimony,
Go ahead.
that the property has been sold, so we're dealing with a separate LLC.
Yes, Well, it should be, because Mr. DiPapolo is no longer involved, I know that for a fact.
All right, thank
Okay,
you.
because,
I know Mr. Di Lorenzo wants to say something, we can come back to that. Mr. Di Lorenzo?
About what, Pat? I'm going to say, I believe it, yeah, it says it right in the resolution that, on page 3, that with Peter Jaflinski, the applicant, discussed the parking issues when he came back in front of the board, I guess in 2015. So that must be the new owner.
Well, DiPapolo was still a part of it at the time.
Probably maybe it was,
They were partners,
maybe
I
they're
believe.
partners and he bought them out, I'm assuming. I don't know
Yes.
about that end.
That's what I assume happened.
We can assume, but I think we need to know facts.
Well, that's why the parking got tandemed,
Yeah.
and
So-
it came down one floor.
Thanks.
the garage.
Mr. Walsh, do you have anything else to finish up with? And-
can we possibly just get a letter from the owner saying that the old application is being abandoned?
Absolutely, that's a suggestion.
Well, I
Yeah.
think I do think
We
that.
need something to protect the town from the lawsuit. That's all I'm concerned about.
I think we should have something in the record that the project is being abandoned, because I can't see that leading to litigation.
All right, so can I get a motion requesting this information and,
No, sit down.
I make a motion that we postpone to a future date, hearing regarding the proposal with the investigation of redevelopment of this property until we have documentation that indicates that there was in fact abandonment.
can I get a,
Second.
please?
Will the
roll call?
public hearing, will the public part be held
You have
up
to.
until the
Yeah,
next
sure.
meeting?
Yes, when it's
Okay,
heard.
we'll be able to question the witness at the next meeting.
That's correct,
Yes.
sir.
We're just postponing things for more information for us to be able to make a decision. Any other
Is there anything
discussion?
you'd like me to find or investigate between now and then?
The issue of
Yeah,
abandonment.
the issue of,
Okay.
what's the status and who's owning it or who's
Again,
abandoning it?
it's not something I would do as part of the study.
Yeah.
So-
Well, we
I
can
mean, I'll-
we have resources, I believe, within public information as
Sure.
to whether taxes were or continuing to be paid on the property. I think we should know that.
I will warn you that when you're dealing with LLCs, a lot of times it's difficult to identify the individuals behind it.
Well,
So that, if you have any information relative to that.
If the person's
That would be
interested, if there's no one interested in developing it, that's one thing. If there's an LLC, we have no reason to obstruct except that this date of June 25th, and all of a sudden now coming to us with this expiration, we need a foundation, because everything that went on with zoning is now negated, and we have to start from the bottom up. So that's it.
And the last comment, Mr. Sheldon?
There is one comment. Michael Sheldon, I'm a member of the zoning board.
We better swear you into.
Yeah.
It's
You solemnly swear the testimony about this matter will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. Thank you.
I have a copy of the transcript from the zoning board hearing. If you'd like to have this, or push this into evidence, you're glad to take this copy from me. But I just wanted to point out one thing. On page 14 of the transcript, Mr. Cosarelli was the counselor for the applicant, and he's questioning Mr. DiPapolo at the time. And on page 14, it says, okay, Mr. DiPapolo, is this project going to be built? And the answer is yes. And then the next question is, you partnered up with a company called Premier Developers, and they're going to be working with you in connection with this project. And the answer is, this is correct. I checked the Premier Developers website last night, and they still list this on their website as one of the properties that they're currently developing. So I just wanted to give you that information.
We'll take that transcript.
If you
And
give
the
it-
date of that transcript?
This is the hearing that took place on May 28, 2015. There was a special hearing just for this case, and this is a copy of the transcript. You're more than welcome to have it.
Mrs. Tribuco, and if you want a copy back? or-
You can have it. No, I have plenty of copies.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
If you could-
It's also
like that.
online. It's also on the planning board's website. under that table, if you just click on the link, anybody who wants a copy of the transcript, it's available.
Great.
Okay?
You helped us a lot on that one. All right, so I have a motion, I have a second, and please call the roll. Motion.
Mr. Zubri,
Yes.
Mrs. Inalberato.
Yes.
Councilman Kennedy, Mr. Walsh.
Yes.
Mrs. Shore.
Yes.
Ms. Rico.
Yes. Okay, I'll entertain a motion for adjournment. So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
See you all September 14th.